high schoolers. Okay, so I wanted to go over a couple of things that I was hoping we would pick up on last week. It looks like some of them have taken and some of them have not. So let's go over a couple of things. First off is that if you ever have a rectangle and you want to make the rectangle 1 by 2, that is 1 square by 2 squares, well, first you're going to need to estimate what you think is a square. Okay, so let's take that. That's a square right there. And then we need to find the middle of this side and draw a line from this corner through the middle of that side down to this second line, right? So there we go. Now, it hits this second line right here. So I'm going to draw a vertical line right there. And now, this from here to here is the same length as from here to here. And I have a rectangle that is 1 by 2. 1 by 2. Why does this matter? That is the question. So if we were going to take a car, for example, let's look at this car in profile. We can ask ourselves, you made a rectangle around the wheels. Let's do that real quick. Okay. Alright, there's a rectangle around the wheels. If it is 1 unit tall, because the wheels are the same height, how many units wide is it? Well, I haven't even checked this yet, but let's just find out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-ish. We'll call it 5. Okay, so we'll say that this rectangle is 1 by 5. Well, hey, if we went back to our original sketch here and we turn this into a 1 by 5 rectangle, let's keep going with it and see what happens. We'll carry these lines all the way. I'm not sure if that's going to be correct, but let's find out. So now we go from, let's see, from here through the middle of this side to extend it to here and draw a vertical line. Then from here through the middle of this side. Alright, let's make sure we're on point. I think the middle is right there. To there. Alright, so we've got a 1 by 4. Let's create, you know what, we can do it this way as well. Let's create a 5th block, 5th square. So if we go through the middle of this side down to this direction, we carry these sides all the way across. Now we've got a rectangle that is 1 by 5, and if we had a wheel here, okay, we could also add another wheel in this area at that height and then create the frame of the car around it. So the frame would go something like this up to here, come back this way, and then go along, back down, and finish off like that. Alright, now that hood looks pretty bad. Let's make it straight. And then flatten off the bottom right here. And you've got a proportional drawing of a car that's 1 by 5 as far as the wheels go. Alright, here's where it gets interesting. Let's first rewind to last week and draw a cube in perspective. Okay, so we draw the corner first. Now every line coming off of the corner is going to head back towards a vanishing point. So if we continued these lines all the way, the vanishing point is actually pretty close. It's right there. And we'll do the same on the other side. These lines will continue back towards a vanishing point. And the vanishing points are level usually because they're on the horizon and the horizon is level. Alright, so next we add 2 vertical lines on the back, and then we have to crisscross. So we go from this corner of the cube back towards that vanishing point, and we go from this corner of the cube back towards this vanishing point, and we've got ourselves a cube drawn in perspective. Okay, now you can draw a 1 by 5 rectangle in perspective, and the reason you would want to do that is so that you can draw a car in perspective. Makes sense? So let's get started on that. Piece of paper. Okay, so if we start with the corner of our car, or at least the corner of the box that goes around our wheels, it's going to be vertical like this. And then let's just draw 2 lines headed back towards a vanishing point. Let's make that vanishing point way up here. Why not? Okay. Alright, now let's just assume that this is a square. Okay, now if I draw a line through this part of the side of this square, I'll hit this line, and if I create another vertical, you can see I've now got 2 squares, but they are in perspective. So I can keep doing that until I have 5 boxes. I feel like this one's a little bit off. Maybe it's not. I'm just going to carry this line back towards the vanishing point, which is right here, just so that I don't have to keep redrawing it. Alright, so the 3rd square goes right here, and if I carry this line down again, I'll hit right there. Now, one of the biggest mistakes I see often is that as people go to the right, these lines start going from vertical and they start leaning sideways and more sideways and more sideways. They're always vertical. Don't go down this road. Alright, vertical line. And we're on our 4th. So this is the last one. And our final right there. Okay, good. So next up in the tutorial that I sent to you, there is practice on drawing ellipses. Alright, I'll let you delve into that on your own, but suffice it to say, if you have a circular object and you look at it from an angle, that object is going to look like an ellipse. Let's take this coaster for example. Look at it straight on and it's a circle. Look at it at an angle and you see an ellipse shape. Same with wheels when they're facing away from us. The side of the wheel looks like an ellipse. And you know that the ellipse of the front wheel goes in this box. So what we're going to do is add it right in here at an angle something like this. Alright, so there's the side of our first wheel, and the side of our back wheel is going to go within this box. Alright, now we can get started on drawing the rest of the car. So I'm going to draw. Now in the tutorial there's a whole lot of detail on this topic. I'm going to take it a little easy and just draw some curves that I'm just estimating. Alright, so there's the front of the car. We'll have the hood come up and around, so maybe we'll put the headlight right here. You can print off your own photo and create your own car, or you can follow along with me. Either way is fine. You know what? I think I'm going to change the shape of that headlight. Let's have this sort of a headlight here. Alright, next I'm going to create another headlight on this side that's the same general shape, but it looks a little bit different because of the perspective that we're drawing it in. Okay, next I'm going to draw a center line. So this center line comes up and then along the front of the car up towards the hood and back towards the windshield. Now you notice this center line is running parallel to this bounding box that we drew earlier to tell us where our wheels are. That's on purpose. Any center line that runs parallel to, the ground is going to be parallel to these lines as well. It's going to veer off of parallel because it goes up the windshield and then over the roof of the car. We'll pick that up later. Okay, we're going to start by adding the edges of the windshield here and here. And then we'll just come across, connect to that middle line right here from that top edge of the windshield. And then from the top edge of the windshield to the midline on this side. And then we'll just do it on the bottom as well. Alright. Next we can add a couple of details to the hood. Let's add a little ridge that starts from the tip of the headlight and comes all the way back to the windshield right there. And can add a similar line right back here. Now all of a sudden we've got a little bit of a structure to our hood. It comes down here. And then it comes across in this direction. And then it comes up, but you can't see most of that because from our perspective it's kind of crunched together, but you can see as it comes around and creates that curve. Alright, let's add an intake on the front. So we're going to come across, go up, and then go in towards the center line, and then we just want to do the same thing on the other side, but have it fit within the boundaries that we've set. Alright, there's an intake. You can draw a ridge along here. This is sort of to guard the radiator, I guess. I'm not sure. I don't know a whole lot about cars. One of these bars that comes across the front. Alright. Good, so let's add a hub to this wheel. Again, it's going to be an ellipse, and it's going to be right in the center of that box that you drew earlier. And we can add things onto the rim of the wheel by just going straight down and straight up, left and right, but left and right along this line that we've already drawn that leads us back. And then let's put one in between of each of these. Alright, that'll do the trick for this wheel. For this back wheel, we don't need quite as much detail, but keep those lines facing the same direction, straight up and straight down, but then the left-right lines go along this line that you've already drawn. I'm going to erase this back a little bit so that we can start to draw the door and things like that. You don't have to completely erase it. Maybe you like having some of those lines in there to add structure. Alright, so first is a line that runs parallel to the bottom, back towards the vanishing point, and goes up and around the wheel. We'll just stop right there, and up and around the wheel. We'll carry this one all the way down to the rim on the front. Okay, now I'm going to try to end this drawing quickly because I'd like to show you what else you can use this wheel technique for. It doesn't just apply to sports cars. Alright, so the side window, you know what? I need a little more room for the side window back here. Side window is going to go right in here and have a flat bottom. Now the flat bottom doesn't mean flat parallel with the edge of the paper, it means parallel with this initial line that we drew at the beginning. Alright, let's add the back of the car coming out here, up, around, and then going off in this direction. That, and maybe a spoiler just peeking out over the top here. Again, going back in this direction towards this imaginary vanishing point, which we haven't drawn yet, but it's way off to the left. Alright. So that's how you would use this perspective technique that you've been learning to draw a car. Let's see how it might apply to something like a wagon. A little bit more simple. Alright. So a wagon, unlike a sports car, is going to be closer to 3 wheels long. So let's start out by just drawing pretty large square headed back towards the vanishing point. I like to keep my vanishing points in similar places on the page because I can get used to drawing in this perspective. If you want to really challenge yourself, you can switch up the perspective. Alright, now I'm not sure if that's where the third one's going to be. I shouldn't have put that line there yet. Let's start by creating one square. Alright, so I'm going to think that's probably a square in perspective. Now let's add the ellipse in there. This is going to be the curvature of the front wheel. This is one of the hardest things to get. Now if you followed along with the tutorial like I asked you, you know that this ellipse is going to be thinnest right here and widest right here. It's going to be mostly flat on this side, and mostly curved on this side, and it's at this sort of an angle. Okay, let's multiply this square back in space. So there's square number 1. We'll leave that empty, and then we want to go through one more halfway mark. I think that's about right here, halfway down this line. Bring another line through it, And it looks like we end up right here with our third square. Now remember, the wagon we're drawing is three wheels long, so to speak. So we're going to draw the wagon wheel right there. You know what? It needs to come all the way up to the edge of the box. So I'm going to have to erase this line. Good. Now we've got the wheels of the wagon ready to go. Let's add the carriage on top. We're going to need to create another vanishing point, and it's going to be off in this direction. So I'm going to draw a line straight through there, and on the center of this line is going to be another wheel, but we don't know exactly how big that wheel is. We need to draw a line from the top of this wheel towards the vanishing point. It's right there. Line from the bottom of this wheel towards the vanishing point. Okay, now we know that this wheel is going to touch the top and the bottom, and the center is going to be right there. Maybe right about there. Alright. Alright, so that's going to be about the curve of this wheel. I think the back wheel will be mostly blocked, so we won't bother with that for now. Okay, let's draw the carriage on top of this. So we've got a box that comes out like this on the front, and like this on the very front corner, and then we can just follow from here back towards this vanishing point again, and from here back towards this vanishing point. We've got the front of the carriage. Let's follow it back to create the top edge of the carriage, and the bottom edge is going to go behind the wheel. Alright. Good. Next, we want to create an arch that is like the cover for the carriage. I'm going to take it all the way to the top of the paper. A little bit of this carriage will go off the top, but that's okay. Alright. There we go. An arch along the back. Now this one is going to be, you see the top of the carriage heads back towards that vanishing point that we've made somewhere over here off screen on the right. So it's going to go downwards a little bit and curve around right here. Then we can add some curves along this side. Keep that motion going. Let's add the front arch. Alright. Now we need a little bit of the structure underneath here. I'm just going to draw something like a box. There's, kind of steering equipment in here, and a big line that comes out and goes in the direction of the vanishing point that we've been using, just like this, and that's where it will hitch to whatever is pulling it. Okay, but we'll just stop it there for now. Let's add some of the arches on the inside. So this one's coming around, and on the inside we can see it coming down here, but it doesn't come all the way down because the top of the carriage also goes back in this direction. And we've got one more arch maybe coming along right there, so you can kind of see inside the carriage. Alright, let's add the hub. So again, we're going to go straight up, and when I say straight up, I mean actually vertical, parallel to the edges of the page. Straight down, and then along the lines of the vanishing point. Okay. And we'll add in between, kind of like we're cutting a pizza. So that's how you draw a wheel on this. And then we're going to parallel this line and then come closer and closer to it and just flatten it at the bottom. That's how you